Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing. Good morning, Prime Minister, for the playing of the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. The Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, Honorable Desmond Mackenzie, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Mr. James Robertson, Member of Parliament for St. Thomas Western, Your Worship the Mayor of Morant Bay and Chairman of the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation, Councillor Michael Hugh, Mr. Stuart Beckford, Commissioner of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, members of the Jamaica Fire Brigade Board, and Dr. Emil representing the chairman this morning, councillors of the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation, consultants for this and contractors for this project that has called us here this morning. Mr. Omar Sweeney, Managing Director, JSIF, and members of the JSIF team, representatives from the respective media houses, and members of the community that are present with here this morning. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very pleasant good morning to you. Let me extend warm St. Thomas welcome to you. It is indeed my pleasure to welcome you to my home parish, Prime Minister and Minister, on this a very distinguished occasion for the opening of the Yallahs Fire Station. The Jamaica Fire Brigade Yallahs Fire Station is a sub-project of the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, which was implemented under the Jamaica Social Investment Fund in partnership with the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. The project aims to bolster Jamaica's capacity to plan for, reduce, and manage risks and the effects of climate change. The project was constructed between the period of December 2019 and May 2022. With that being said, I now invite Mr. Gary Swaby, Chaplain and Acting Commissioner of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, to open with prayers for us.
Can we please stand as we invite God's presence? Our loving Father and our God in heaven, we thank you, great God, for your love, for your kindness, for your blessings. We invite your presence here with us now, that you will be with everything that will be done and said here today. We want to thank you, great God, for the privilege of life, for freedom, for blessings, for good governance, great God, for good leadership. We thank you, great God, for each person that is here today. And we pray as we go through the day that you will be with us. Pray, divine God, that you will help us to keep our eyes single and fixed towards your glory, that when the trump of God shall sound and the book would have been opened, that each one of us here today will have that wonderful hope to go home to live and to reign with you. Continue, Lord, to bless us. We ask in Jesus' name.
Thank you very much, Mr. Swaby. I should also indicate to you that my name is Marcia Henry Martin, for the persons who may not be aware, and I'm the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. I'll now invite His Worship the Mayor, Councillor Michael Hugh, to give you the official welcome.
Thank you, PS. Good morning, everyone. Let me acknowledge the presence of the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, Honorable Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Member of Parliament for Western St. Thomas, Mr. James Robertson, Mr. Omar Sweeney, Managing Director of the JSIF, Assistant Commissioner of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Mr. Gary Swaby, our Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Marsha Henry Martin, members of the St. Thomas Fire Brigade, the media, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me all welcome you to the official opening of this Yallahs Fire Station. I'm very excited about this development, as it comes at a time when there is significant improvement in the infrastructure of this parish. And as we improve the lives of the people of this parish, facilities like these need to be improved and be built so that it can keep a pace with the development. We can make mention of the road work, the many housing solutions, hotel construction to come on place, the Mark Bay Urban Center, and other facilities. I have always been intrigued by the work of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, so much so that every Tuesday night, I don't miss my favorite channel on the cable network that shows the Chicago fire, that the people of Chicago, Station 51, with Chief Bowden, Matt Casey, and the likes of the Chicago Fire Department that seek to protect the people of Chicago. I must say that I'm pleased with the work of the St. Thomas Fire Department. They have been a source of inspiration and fellowship to the people of this parish. I want to thank Assistant Commissioner Swaby for the members present here and those throughout the entire Jamaica, that we must celebrate the work of the members of the Fire Brigade. Not only does the Fire Brigade seek to out fires, but they are actually one of the first responders in the case of flooding and in the case of natural disasters. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you to this wonderful parish, who in another couple of years will become the mecca of investment in this country. This parish is a beautiful parish with the many attractions and the many warm people that lives here. Once again, welcome you to this opening of the fire station. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Hugh. A very wonderful parish it is indeed, that will become the mecca of prime investment, Mr. Sweeney. So we are now going to invite Hugh, as the Managing Director of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, to give us some opening remarks, after which we'll invite the Commissioner of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Mr. Stuart Beckford, to also give some remarks in that order.
Thank you, PS, Madam PS. Most Honorable Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Honorable Desmond McKenzie, Honorable James Robertson, I see Your Worship the Mayor, I saw Honorable Michelle Charles also standing. Other distinguished guests this morning, as the protocol, please allow me to say protocol observed. I'm pleased to be here this morning to mark the completion of the Yallahs Fire Station, done in partnership with the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development and the Government of Jamaica. Just to say that this project, financed through the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, has been funded to the tune of $162 million by way of financing agreement with the World Bank and the Government of Jamaica. We're pleased this morning because, aligned with our mandate of poverty alleviation and the protection of vulnerable communities, this fire station will provide the necessary resource and protection to more than 95,000 residents. I say this also as this occasion is timely, as the Jamaica Fire Brigade celebrates Fire and Life Safety Awareness Week. I will share with you a personal story. On Sunday, my family and I left home, as you do on Sunday, to do some family activity. When we got home at about 4 o'clock, my house was on fire. Real. My house was on fire. And so many things flash in your mind when that happens. For one, the fire brigade flashes in your mind. And Minister McKenzie, we have had many discussions about a fire station in Papine, because when that event happened, the first thing that came to my mind is that they are going to have to come from York Park or Halfway Tree. And so it is so important for us as residents to feel protected. Thanks be to God, I had two very healthy and well-functioning fire extinguishers that managed the situation. And I had just gotten home. I had gotten home just before things were going to get serious. And so it is important. It is important that these investments are made to improve the resilience and the security of citizens and businesses and residents. And so I think it is such a great opportunity for us to be here today, for the residents of St. Thomas and Yallahs and environs particular, to receive this investment to be opened by our most honorable Prime Minister and Honorable Desmond McKenzie and others. This fire station will include male and female dormitories, a conference room, restrooms, EMS rooms, small gym, and an engine bay. And just in case anyone asks the question, covered behind me is the fire pole. And so all things are present. I want to thank the Ministerial Local Government. I want to thank the Jamaica Fire Brigade, because they have been tremendous partners in the time that we have been working to implement this project. And it's just been our honor to be here this morning, to be a part of this development in the parish of St. Thomas. Thank you.
Master of Ceremony, our Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Marsha Henry Martin, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, Honorable Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Mr. James Robertson, Member of Parliament, St. Thomas Western. Good to see you, sir. And welcome, good to have you among us. Your Worship, Mayor of Moran Bay, Councillor Michael Yu. Good to meet you, sir. Meeting you for the first time. Dr. Keith Hamill, Deputy Chairman representing our Chairman, who unfortunately could not be here with us this morning. I want to also acknowledge former Commissioner Raymond Spencer, who is a son of the soil. And welcome, sir. Glad to have you I want to also acknowledge the presence of my two deputies, Deputy Commissioner Horton and Warren Malcolm, other directors, other distinguished guests, members of the media. Good morning. I am indeed pleased to be here today for the official handing over of the new Yallahs fire station. But let me start my comments by first acknowledging and recognizing the tremendous sacrifice made and commitment shown by the men and women of this division who continue to serve, notwithstanding the many challenges associated with the job of firefighting. No doubt the opening of this facility this morning will lift the morale of our firefighters as they will be working in an environment that will facilitate improved service delivery to the people of Yallahs and its environs. And it also forms part of the Jamaica Fire Brigade's strategic objective to modernize our fire stations. No longer can we say that St. Thomas is a forgotten parish. I would have been in many meetings with the Honorable Minister and my permanent secretary, where she was the butt of many jokes as to how backward, for want of a better word, our parish was. But I'm happy to be here this morning, as I said, participating in this opening ceremony. St. Thomas' risk profile has changed significantly over the last 10 years. Mayor, you just mentioned about the housing stock. You've also seen growth in the population, and of course, with population growth, there will have to be housing to accommodate that growing population. Currently, there are some 106 early childhood institutions in the parish, 43 schools, 3 community colleges, 5 hotels, and we expect that these will multiply, 6 guest houses, 8 penal institutions, 21 nightclubs, 2 LPG filling stations, 6 health centers, 1 hospital, as we know, in Morant Bay, and several gas stations. All of these, ladies and gentlemen, would have added to the risk profile of the parish over the last 10 years. Over the last 5 years, the parish would have responded to 2,577 emergency calls, inclusive of structural, farmlands, and bushfires, as well as motor vehicle accidents. And this is one area that we are a bit concerned about, because we know with the opening of the highway, there are likely to be an increase in the motor vehicle accidents happening in this parish. A total of 260 persons would have been made homeless over this period. And this morning, I sadly learned through the Member of Parliament, Mr. James Robertson, that there was a fire on Saturday night which left about 7 persons homeless. I believe some of them are here in the audience. And I would just like to use this opportunity to express my sincere condolences to you and your losses. And I'm hoping that the agencies that are charged with the responsibility to ensure that you get the necessary help that you need will come to your assistance. I'm sure the Member of Parliament will ensure that that happens. Ladies and gentlemen, from a fire and life safety perspective standpoint, this parish is the safest, or one of the safest in the island. I say that because over the last 5 years, we have had no related fire deaths in the parish. I want you to join with me in congratulating the men and women of the division. Because they have truly committed themselves to assisting the brigade in fulfilling its mandate of saving lives, protecting property. In closing, I would like to thank those who worked tirelessly to make this a reality. To these individuals, we owe a debt of gratitude. We want to assure you that your efforts will not be in vain, as we will do everything in our powers to ensure the proper use and maintenance of this facility. In closing, I'd like to say to you, sir, that I'm happy that your house was not gutted by fire. We, at times, at the fire brigade, may not be in a position to respond as quickly as we want because of the distance that we have to travel. But what we try to do to make amends for this is to educate the public on what to do in the event of a fire. And obviously, you would have taken that training, that education seriously, and it would have helped you in mitigating a possible disaster. We want to encourage members of the public, as we are in the middle of Fire Awareness Week, to go out, participate in the activities that are planned across the island. Please ensure that you know the number to your nearest fire station. because this also will help instead of dialing 110. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the ceremony.
Good morning, everybody. My time here at this podium will be the shortest today, because all I have to say to everybody, and the Prime Minister, Most Honorable Andrew Holness, to my friend Honorable Desmond McKenzie, the Minister, to the Commissioner, Mr. Beckford, to the Permanent Secretary, who I have learned a lot about since morning, and I say to Mr. Sweeney and his staff, thank you. That is the beginning and end of my presentation this morning, just to say thank you. I want to acknowledge the presence of the councillors who have worked hard to see the infrastructure built in St. Thomas. And Vivienne, you're the longest serving, and the Mayor, I'd like you both to stand up and acknowledge your presence. Put your hands together for both of them. I am just going to acknowledge that on Saturday evening, Prime Minister, I was far away, and I got a call from Vivienne through WhatsApp that she had a crisis in her division. I got there late Saturday night and decided not to go in because it wouldn't do justice to the situation. We came back Sunday morning and met with the families. We lost the homes of 6 homes, kitchens, 3 kitchens. We lost everything. And the families that I brought here to see you, because this tells you how important these services are. I can only tell you that all of us are doing what we can to stand by. All of the agencies of government have already responded. And actually, I am proud of how the government of Jamaica is working. And I want you to sit, and I can tell you, we will be with you. Even though you had strong words for me Saturday evening, I have no problem. I actually enjoyed, because I know that the best counselor, Miss Spence, was with you. Thank you. You can sit. This morning, I arrived early, and I thought about all the services, Commissioner Beckford. Prime Minister, you should have not fallen for that one. I know you too well. Prudence, how could he fall for that? Prime Minister, I'll be very short. When we think of all the services that this fire service and this station offers, it's immense. And this morning I met Mr. Philip Greenleaf, part of your team, and the victim service units, the first responders, the emergency in floods, hurricanes. What services are offered by the fire service is not simply outing fire. I believe outing fire is the smallest of your service. And I want to say, Mayor, when you spoke about the different programs you watched and I listened, I accept that fact. This fire service, our station here, as Mr. Sweeney says, serves 95,000 people. That figure was higher than I thought, and I thank you for that statistic. I want to close by saying this morning. When we respond to and we refer to St. Thomas as no longer the forgotten parish, it is because of a vision that probably started 160 years ago with Paul Bogle. It is a vision that the Prime Minister of Jamaica shares with me, and it is a deliverable that we already seen testament to. I want to say to everybody this morning, as Member of Parliament, thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Robertson, Member of Parliament for Western St. Thomas. Minister, the charge is now being given to you to offer your remarks to the members present here this morning. Come, sir. I have to stand while you come, because I don't think I've ever had the opportunity of standing with you in this parish to do this. And I really want to thank you, sir, for listening. Thank you.
I didn't tell you I hear what you said, though, you know. Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Henry Martin, Most Honorable Prime Minister, my colleague, Member of Parliament, Mr. Sweeney, members of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, members of the board of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, His Worship the Mayor, councillors, the CEO of the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am honored to be here this morning because this is another effort of a cohesive response to a need, Prime Minister, that existed for more than 20 years. The condition that existed before was not fitting for the men and women of the Jamaica Fire Brigade in this parish. We shared, Prime Minister, the platform in St. James recently, and we are here this morning to deliver again in this part of the island. I am really honored, Prime Minister, because I believe that the Jamaica Fire Brigade, the men and women of the service, have not been given the kind of recognition that they deserve over the years. When I became minister, I made a commitment to the brigade that we will not rest. We will do everything that is humanly possible to improve the working conditions, to provide the basic facilities so that you can undertake your responsibility. And Prime Minister, your administration have lived up to that commitment. We have spent since 2016 close to $900 million building new and improving facilities for the Jamaica Fire Brigade right across this country. Expenditure that has never been spent before. And we are proud of this achievement. Not only that we are building these infrastructures, but we have been providing the brigade with the requisite tools to carry out the functions. And I want to thank the team here in St. Thomas for your patience, for your understanding. Finally, we are at a point now where we can say, after a long wait, we are seeing the coming of a new day for the Jamaica Fire Brigade in the parish of St. Thomas. It is also important that I make the point that we are not just building new facilities and giving you whole trucks and whole equipment. We're giving you everything brand new. And that is a commitment of this administration. I want to thank the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF. You know, Prime Minister, I had the honor of honoring the organization in my constituency last week for the work that they have done. And I want to say it publicly. This is one public entity that deserves the honor and respect because of the commitment and the fact that they have delivered and delivered more than they have committed on many, many occasions. Mr. Sweeney and the team, thank you, and we are grateful. The Ministry of Local Government appreciates it. We announced recently, and we broke grounds for the construction of a new fire station in Ulster Spring in Trelawney. Following discussions with the Commissioner this morning, we are now well advanced, Prime Minister, to commence construction of the new facility in Ulster Spring. It will give the people in that part of Trelawney, Manchester, and Clarendon service that they never had before. And so we are proud of that. The estimates for the renovation of the facilities in Balaclava was handed to me earlier today, and we are going to be providing the funds to commence the renovation so that Balaclava in St. Elizabeth will finally have the Jamaica Fire Brigade responding. The people in that section of St. Elizabeth, the closest fire station to Balaclava is Mandeville. And Balaclava is almost at the end of St. Elizabeth. Again, this is your administration, Prime Minister, working to provide the basic service for the people of Jamaica. In closing, Member of Parliament Robertson spoke to me about the unfortunate situation involving 6 families. I want to announce this morning that the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation have already gone in and have provided the information, and I'm asking the Permanent Secretary to have our technical team going to the area to start to make arrangements, Prime Minister. We will be providing 6 units to assist the families who got burnt out in St. Thomas. So we are not just talking about loving people. We are demonstrating that we care, and we are doing it by putting in place the actions which are necessary. To the men and women of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, welcome to your new home.
Thank you very, very much, Minister Mackenzie. We're at a point of the program, Prime Minister, that we will ease our ears by listening to an item from one of our own firefighters, Mr. Delroy Nelson, who is going to take it away.
Pleasant good morning. All protocols observed.
Many nights we've prayed with no proof anyone could hear. In our hearts a hopeful song we barely understood, but we are not afraid, although we know there's much to fear. We've been moving mountains long before we knew we could. There can be miracles when you believe. to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe somehow you will. You will when you believe. In this time of fear, when prayer proves so much in vain, hope seems like a summer's birds who quickly blown away. Yet still I'm standing here, my heart so full I can't explain, seeking faith and speaking words I never thought I'd say. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe somehow you will. You will when you believe. When you believe. And it don't always happen when you ask. And it's easy to give in to your peace. Blinded by the pain, can see your way clear through the rain. A small but still voice say help is very near. Miracle, though hope is frail, it's hard to kill.
I won't say anything about that. I told you would take it away, Prime Minister. And as you prepare to come, let me invite the audience to stand. And sir, as you come, I want to remind us that there is a particular chapter in the book of Romans that asks us to pray for our leaders. So as you come, Prime Minister, my prayer for you is that the Lord himself will bless you from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet and grant you prosperity, and that you will have long life and accomplish what he has given you to accomplish. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you very much. I was the guest of honor at Trinidad's 60th celebration of their independence. Trinidad is doing quite well, in a similar development stage of Jamaica. And so it was very good to see another developing country and how they are progressing and how they are celebrating their independence and what independence means to them. Obviously, the celebration of independence is usually carried out as an expression of the state authorities. And I had the occasion of, along with the Prime Minister of Trinidad, visiting the Trinidadian Fire Brigade headquarters, where they had a celebration, and I'm told that they have it every year, and that their fire brigade has a band where every year they host the Prime Minister at their independence celebration, and it's quite a fete put on by the fire brigade. And I was reflecting on whether or not our fire brigade has a band. They do. Well, they have certainly kept it a secret. So I thought that at the next official function that we have, I would be speaking with the commissioner to hear what is the state of our band in the fire service and the talents that I know we have. And we usually call upon the JDF and the JSIF to play at our official events. We now have to reserve a space for the Jamaica Fire Brigade to play. Certainly, the talent exists, and I want to thank you, sir, for changing the mood and preparing the audience to receive my presentation. Now, I like to give a little context to my presentations. They might be a little bit long, so they may not be media worthy. It's very difficult for the media to take the bits and pieces, but if they play the clips fully, I'm sure the public would appreciate the context. Now, in my opinion, and I stand to be corrected by persons who are historians, I'm not a historian, but in my opinion, St. Thomas is the parish that is pivotal to the development of modern Jamaica. The revolt of 1865, Paul Bogle and George William Gordon played a critical role in redefining Jamaica. Jamaica was a colony that was independently governed at that time. It had a legislative assembly, and therefore it was really self-ruled. But the conditions were intensely unjust, unfair. It was just terrible for the people in every aspect. The economy, land distribution, in every aspect. And that led to the social revolt. And as a result of the brutal suppression of the revolt, where over 400 persons were killed by the state, there was a commission into the activity. The governor who was responsible was recalled. Some members of the Jamaican colonial authorities that were in the United Kingdom even sought to have the matter taken to a court in the United Kingdom. Nothing much came of it. Obviously, I'm going very quickly. I'm not going into the details of what happened. But as a result of that, the independent administration of the colony was taken back. And a new governor came. And following from that, a greater interest was taken in the administration of affairs in Jamaica. As a result of that, you had the final establishment of the 14 parishes, the designation of capital towns, the establishment of the JSIF, and various other what I call nation-building activities took place. as the administration of the affairs of Jamaica took a greater interest, was taken by the colonial office, a greater interest was taken in the administration of the affairs of Jamaica. St. Thomas was neglected. There were other parishes neglected, obviously, but St. Thomas being so close to Kingston and St. Andrew, one would have thought that the development that went to St. Catherine, to St. Anne, that some of it would have come into the parish of St. Thomas. Not the case. Certainly in terms of the number of schools, certainly in terms of your road network and all the other institutions of government that would be needed to spur growth and development in the parish, this parish lagged behind. And sugar lasted much longer than I think it should have. So your economy largely remained a sugar-dependent economy, though you had such great potential, and still have such great potential for tourism, for mining, and for the development of other industries. So even in our local lore that would have developed since then, in the minds of Jamaicans, they saw St. Thomas as a kind of the dark parish. And it stayed that way for a very long time. In 2015, I came to the parish, then as leader of the opposition. And I believe it was at a meeting at the Anglican Church. And, it was during a meeting that a series of tours that we were having called Prosperity Live. And the people there were, I wouldn't say angry, but justifiably upset that their parish was neglected. And one young man stood up and said, St. Thomas is the only parish without a stoplight, is the only parish without a Kentucky. That was his way of expressing the neglect. Now, this is a young man and his association of development, a mall or something, identifying development. And it struck me, and it stuck with me. And I went back to our policy meeting, and we decided that we're going to direct resources into St. Thomas to develop the parish because it has such incredible potential. So we made some decisions. There was already in train a program to build a roadway. It could have been, wasn't finalized, it could have been a toll road. That was part of the discussion. That would connect Kingston through St. Thomas into Portland. We made some decisions to restructure how that allocation of resource would be done. We made a decision that instead of building a new road on a totally new alignment, which would be further in or going through the hills, that we would seek as much as possible to develop the existing roadway, change the alignment, put in water, make provisions for internet and other important road infrastructure, and in some cases and some areas, sewage infrastructure. That was a massive allocation of resources. And we recognized that if we were to do that, it would cause significant dislocation. Because the existing road that was built was never built to carry the volume of traffic that it was carrying. It wasn't conceived to be a highway. It was just a track that turned into a local road. Further, when that road was built, there were no really planned communities around it. Communities just sprung up around the road. They don't have sewer, the water infrastructure can't carry them. And the unplanned development actually places a restriction on the fulfillment of the true potential of the parish. So your government is undertaking a massive redevelopment of the parish. But when I survey media, and when I listen to the conversations that carry sway in terms of, what people are listening to, there is an absence in the conversation of the context as to what it is that we are doing. In the moment, people are upset. And I suspect that I would be upset too if I woke up every morning and dust was filling my house and the contractors are moving slow and I can't get proper access to my roadway. I too would be upset. But as a student of history and as someone who pays attention to both sides of the conversation, not just one side of the conversation, I would also understand that in the end, my welfare and my well-being will be much better off. So I understand and I appreciate and I ask for pardon while we make progress. But we should never forget that we are involved in a long struggle for development. You may be waiting 30 years, but if you were to consider your grandmother and your great-grandmother and your great-great-grandmother going back to 1865 to get here, then you will begin to understand that you here as citizens, as a Jamaican, must appreciate the long struggle to get where we are today. And that an administration, when administrations have been going from our independence, never paid attention to it. This administration has done it. So before we kick over the apple cart, express your frustration, democratic country, I respect that. But let us look at both sides of the story. Let us be balanced. And let us look at the entirety of the situation. If truth be told, when was it ever done? When? So I'm, as your Prime Minister, I pay attention to everything. It's my job to just put it into context sometimes. As I say, I stand to be corrected by the historians because we don't spend enough time on our history and dealing with these matters. But I raise them, so I hope it gets into the public domain and hopefully somebody will take it and it will become a public debate and people will begin to understand the truth about what it is that we are doing in St. Thomas. So there was a protest in St. James recently about a particular road. And we have mobilized the contractor to start working on that particular piece of road. And I explained that it is going to cost about $170 million somewhere in that region to repair approximately 2 kilometers of roadway. But the repairs would not be the standard repairs. That piece of roadway is used to carry heavy equipment. It serves an area where there is significant quarrying, and therefore we have to build the road in a particular way to take the heavy trucks. But more than that, we have established some new standards in road construction, that the road is not merely the asphalt. If we're building roads, we must put in drainage. So we have to widen the road and we will have to dig drainage ways. And we will be using certain pipes to ensure that we take the water off the road. And we would also have to do other improvements to the area to ensure that the road actually lasts. Because when we do construction now, we are always considering the impacts of climate change. So it might sound a little bit expensive, but for everything that has to be done, it is actually a very reasonable cost. Now, I'm using that to point out that this station cost about $160 million to build. Now, governments have decisions to make. You elect us to make decisions. Now, that stretch of road in St. James is 19 kilometers of roadway. So you just work out what it is going to cost to do the entire roadway. So what do I do? Do I do the entire roadway? Or do I try and split it? Do a little part there and do a station here? You get the drift. That with our limited budget, we have to make decisions about how we deal with the priorities. On my way in, I was listening to a very interesting radio program where a member of parliament was on being interrogated by constituents about the roads, the water, the other infrastructure. Member of Parliament was able to say, yes, we're dealing with water here, we have a project there. He was able to say we repaired some roads. But the number of calls that came in about roads that were not repaired or are falling into disrepair was significant. And it made it seem, you know, if you were a non-Jamaican listening, not aware of the context, it would appear that the Member of Parliament is doing nothing. Now, I happen to know that the Member of Parliament has done at least 3 times more than any Member of Parliament before or any government that has been in that area before. But the truth is that our infrastructure has deteriorated to such a point that no matter how fast we are moving now, to the frustrated citizen, it is going to seem as if nothing is being done. Almost every week, Thursday to Friday, I'm out in the field, breaking ground, handing over, or opening some piece of infrastructure that we're doing. Now, you just go back and check, because it's easy to do, to see if other prime ministers were able to do that. Or ministers. But you're not going to look at that. That's not your interest. Your interest is what is happening now. My job is to put it into context. That we have at least doubled our infrastructure output. But not even that is good enough to catch up with the level of disinvestment that has happened to our infrastructure over the last 40 years. So government has to become more efficient, and we have to improve our budgeting process. It's now more difficult than ever to get things done quickly because there is something called procurement, which we must comply with, and that extends the process. So I need the citizens of the country to understand, because democracy is prone to randomness, that false information, misinformation can lead people to make wrong choices. And many developed countries have suffered from the influence of randomization of voting pattern because of false information that has gotten into the minds of the electorate, some of it being artificially manipulated. So, we make a point of everything that the government does, we put it out there to the people. Because ultimately, we want the voters to have the information so that they can make a proper judgment of the performance of the government. And that's what we're doing. I want to put this in context. This is one of 3 major fire stations that we are building. I opened one in St. James. This one I'm opening, and we're going to do, there's one in St. Mary, which is underway, and you mentioned some other substations. I was just speaking with Omar Sweeney of JSIF, and the government is in the process of developing another project that will seek to construct 8 smaller fire stations that will give coverage along the south coast. That will be a project in the region of about $2 billion. Why are we doing this? Why is it that we are investing in this kind of infrastructure? Well, we only see the fire brigade as the entity that responds to, a home fire or an industrial fire or something of that nature, putting out fires. But the fire brigade also has an EMS function, an emergency medical response function. And as we have a new highway being built, and no matter how we plead with the public to drive safely, and even though we are constructing the road to international standards to have safety inbuilt in the roads, there will be accidents. And once you have these kinds of roads, which will be carrying a larger volume, there will be an increased number of traffic accidents. And so you need to have this kind of infrastructure standing in your parish to be able to respond. However, along the coast, we have seen significant private sector interest in tourism development. I wanted to go and visit the Bob Marley Beach because I saw a social media post. I saw a video being circulated that Andrew Holness wants to take away poor people land. I immediately saw through it, because all that Andrew Holness has ever done is to give poor people access to land and housing. But I took heart after seeing the video, because immediately a young lady called me and she said to me, "Prime Minister, I hope you are not going to stop the hotel development that is coming. Because now watch what him saying. There are thousands of young men and women in the parish who want work. Don't stop the development, Prime Minister. They have been there for years and years. How much people they employ? How many lives have they transformed? How is the parish going to be developed without bringing in industry and commerce and housing? Because as I tell you, this politics of poverty is so dangerous. Use poor people to stop their own development. Can you imagine that? Use poor people to stop development. Now, that is a private matter. So I never open my mouth on it. I don't get involved in it because it is a private matter. Just to be clear, the Bob Marley Beach is owned by the Commissioner of Lands. And there is no intention whatsoever to sell the beach. In fact, government policy is that we do not sell beach land, beachfront. I want to make that clear. So if there were any concerns, please rest assured that's not the case. But this Prime Minister can talk this way because I come from poverty. I know what it is to be born in a one-bedroom house with my great-grandmother and my sister and my mother living there. I know it. So I don't afraid to talk about poverty. And the only way out of poverty is to get development going. So all them people who come promising you all kind of things, run them. The only way we're going to end poverty in this parish, when we get the road in, we get investment in, we get employment in, and you start to get work. And when you get work, you get your income, and your income gives you independence. And with that independence, you have greater choice. So if you were poor and have to depend on a man to support you, because you have income, you are liberated from that. If you are poor and boy, you have to go getting a chopping and scamming, you are liberated from that. And that is what we want to do. And that is why it just puzzles me when I saw that video being circulated, where the average man not going to understand that what this man said in the video is stopping your own progress and prosperity. So this fire station is a representation of the government's strategic intent of focusing on the development of this parish. You're getting a magnificent roadway, and it is not just the roadway leading into Portland that tourists go and drive on. No, you get a lovely roadway leading up to Cedar Valley, and many off-roads, proper drainage, water mains, massive water mains along the way, sewage in some places. Yes, that is going to spur development in your community. We have started work on the Morant Bay Town Center. St. Thomas, when has this attention ever been paid to your parish since 1865? You tell me. Don't follow the false prophets who you see coming and talking. Don't follow those people who are bent on creating mischief. I understand your frustration. I understand your fatigue. But I want you to take the entire thing and put it into context. So I hope that my presentation here has been meaningful and edifying, and that you would have a better understanding of the government's policy and programs. God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister. We have come to a very important part of the program. I know we are keen on time management. So at this time, we're going to invite the Most Honorable Andrew Holness to join the Honorable Desmond Mackenzie and Mr. Omar Sweeney, along with our Member of Parliament, Mr. James Robertson, and of course, our Mayor, Mayor Yu. Could you please join us also? And we're going to invite Mr. Gary Swaby to offer dedicatory prayers for the building. So we're going to move to the right. We ask that you move in an orderly fashion. The audience will remain here. Only these names that I have called will move to the front. We also invite the media to move orderly to that side, wherein a tour of the building will also be done. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for... Deputy Chairman, could you also please stand? Please forgive me. Could you please join the team, the touring party? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for allowing me to be your host this morning. It was indeed a pleasure to serve you. We ask you to remain seated until the touring party is complete. Thank you very much.